now it's time for our new feature, Loathe Island, which is a bit like Love Island, except it's for people we hate. And basically what you're going to do is banish them to an island where they all have to slither around together until they all die.
Pack your bags, it's time for Loathe Island.
Alex Phillips is here, the star of Crosstalk, of course, with Kevin O'Sullivan, I'm sorry to say. Peter Bleksley, the former star of the Metropolitan Police, and many, many new other things since when you've been doing all that. Now, Peter, you're going to start us off with a man, I think, who is universally loathed.
OK, well, somebody I would like to send here is that man of landslide general election victories, illegal wars, and now an ever-increasingly sanctimonious, repugnant attitude.
Yes.
It could only be Sir Tony Blair.
Sir Anthony Blair, please. I mean,
please forgive me.
Let's give him his full title. Owner of the Blair Foundation.
Yes, and a very fat bank account, apparently, by all accounts.
Yes. He's a man who also can put in his CV, he was once an envoy of peace to the Middle East. How's that turned out?
Yeah.
Not that great, really.
Nah.
Well done, Tone.
How could he ever get that job after what he'd done? I
know.
mean, it really is astonishing.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
I mean, it's a bit like going round to somebody's house, blowing it up, and then getting the contract to build a new one, isn't it?
It is indeed. So I'd like to banish him there. But of late, you see, this is the irritating thing. News outlets still want to hear what he's got to say.
Yeah.
And I really don't. There's nothing going to make me reach for that remote control quicker than when I hear or see Blair over or off.
But, of course, they're using him now, the Labour Party, aren't they? Because all of Blair's old apparatchiks are all now advising Keir Starmer. Peter Mandelson's back in. You know, you've got Alistair Campbell still hanging about. Your favourite hate figure, Alex. You know, they don't go away, these people. They keep resurfacing and retreading all their same ideas to make Britain great again.
They're still considered acceptable.
Yeah.
Despite waging war for no reason, despite opening the floodgates to mass immigration, despite completely trashing this country and, like you said, preventing free speech by being so sanctimonious.
And also reconstructing our judicial system,
despite being ex-alcoholics, bullies and basically just arseholes, they're still rattling around like they're saints, like they're beatified.
Yeah. And they talk as if only they know exactly how to run the country. I mean, to be fair, the lot we've got at the moment don't know how to run the country, so they've got themselves to blame.
But it's the intolerance of most of them that I really can't stand. You can't, and I come up against these people from time to time in various environments, sometimes in the media, and the intolerance of those people that think they are leftist and right and sanctimonious. You can't have a decent chat with them because they just want to shut you down.
Of course.
Because it's their way or the highway.
Exactly right. So, Tony Blair, the first consignment to Loathe Island.
Very good
It's a good pick. What's your first
one?
one?
Well, do you know, it's kind of the same ilk, if I'm honest. It's Angela Merkel.
Yes.
Again, a sanctimonious person who was put on a pedestal like she was some sort of second coming. You know, this unshakable chancellor who everything she said and did and proposed had to be right because she was basically God.
Right.
And what was she doing all this time? Cozying up to Russia, ruining her country's energy policy, ruining the whole economic security of the European Union, and then saying to any Joe Blogs and Mohammed, come on in, come one, come all, we welcome you. You can't be mean to these people. Almost every single illness connected to Europe today started with her.
And it all started with her saying, we want to offer a space to anybody from Syria to come in because, of course, Syria's under threat of war and it's a terrible place to live. And, of course, everybody who turned up at the border said, hi, I'm from Syria. And they went, OK, in you come. They had no way of checking, didn't have any idea if they were Syrian or not.
I mean, if it wasn't just the refugees' welcome, which is her legacy and why we're in a big mess today, but it is also energy policy. This woman was basically, you know, brought up in the Eastern Bloc and couldn't get over the fact that Germany wasn't still part of Russia.
Well, wasn't she
Look what's happened to Putin as a result.
Wasn't she in East Berlin at the same time as Putin was, as head of the KGB?
Oh, they probably dated at some point.
They probably did,
I mean, she really has been the wrecking ball.
Maybe they ran into Jeremy Corbyn and Diane Abbott, who went on the world's worst love affair honeymoon type trip on the back of a motorcycle, right, to East Berlin.
That is a picture.
That is. Sorry, Peter. Do you want a bucket?
I just think of how a motorcycle, what sort of design of ancient motorcycle was that roadworthy that it could manage that load?
That Che Guevara used to cycle around, South America. Right, anyway, so good start. Tony Blair, Angela Merkel, Peter.
Sadiq Khan.
Excellent.
To give him his correct name. Who runs, amongst many other things, TFL, Transport for Loathe.
Right. Very good.
So
Transport for Loathe.
Get it?
So we can usher him off there with that, under his own...
Well, he could ruin Loathe Island in about 5 minutes, I'm sure.
Is Loathe Island actually the Isle of Dogs, and this is actually just a sort of misrepresentation?
Yeah, well, this is just a sort of a rose-tinted, spectacled look at what it really looks like, because it ain't like this. Once you get past the trees, I'm afraid you get right into bad territory.
Yeah, and a man who I think single-handedly has created so much discontent in our capital city.
Yes.
It's difficult to imagine how much more upset, irritation,
He's
and
ruined it,
annoyance
hasn't he? He's ruined
he
London.
could cause.
I mean,
Yeah.
you and I probably
ruined
lived here most
London.
of our lives. I lived here when it was a very, very much different place. There are bits of London now I don't recognise at all. It's overcrowded, it's over expensive, it's overtaxed, and it's ridiculous.
And of course, as a man who's lived in London all my life, got married in London, raised my kids in London, only to be told by Khan that if me, my wife and my kids were to go to London, central London, like we do frequently, and have our photograph taken, that wouldn't represent true London.
No, it wouldn't. Of course not. Well, he's the expert.
Off your trot, Sadiq.
Yeah.
He's a despicable character. He really is. And it's one of those things, if you don't live in London, you might think, oh, this is just political. No. When you live here, it's borne out by facts. You see what's happened to Oxford Street, Regent Street, the ghettoisation in the outer boroughs. You see it with your eyes.
You do, absolutely. And also, it's paved over too much of it as well for bloody cyclists and pedestrians. Anyway, Alex, you're going back into history for yours.
So what's weird is when we were discussing this beforehand, we both had this as our nominee, which is kind of odd. Yeah, it's Mary the First.
Yes.
Now, why Mary the First, you may
Please
say?
educate.
Bloody Mary. Bloody Mary.
Bloody Mary, right.
Bloody Mary. Well, I don't know where to begin. So she basically was born with that sort of mental illness that comes with having a lot of money and privilege, right? She was a manic depressive. Her father, Henry VIII, who was a bit of a bonehead, let's be fair, but he said, I don't want to be controlled by Rome. I want to do what I want. Britain is for Britain. I'm going to take over the church and everything, and Rome can do what.
Are you saying he was the first Brexiteer?
She was the first Remainer.
I see.
This is where I'm getting to.
Right.
So she was one of those manic depressives. Today she would have one of those mental illness short fringes and glue herself to paintings. But she sort of fought to get her place sort of reinstated to become the queen when his sickly son died, because he died at the age of about 12 from some sort of horrible condition. So she comes back in and she goes about burning at the stake anybody who went along with the New World Order.
Okay.
Basically, the Brexiteers.
Right.
She burnt them at the stake. She then married a geezer with an overbite so big that unless that offers some sort of extra benefit in bed, this was only for political purposes.
Yes.
He was the King of Spain, Philip II, and they wanted to create some kind of European empire between them.
Sounds
it was
familiar.
basically the EU of the medieval period. She said, oh, we can't do this. We can't go to war with France because of trade. Or we can't do this. Do you know what happened? Because we didn't go to war, she then lost Calais. We used to own Calais.
Right.
And I'm thinking,
And now look what's
fast
happened to
forward
it.
2023, if we still ran Calais, the whole migrant crisis would be solved, wouldn't it? There'd be no boats leaving it coming for Britain.
And I could just pop over there and get duty-free cigarettes. Don't smoke, kids. Don't smoke. It's a daft habit.
But basically, Mary I was the original mentally ill, short fringe activist Remainer with bloodthirsty evil coursing through her
Sounds
veins.
awful. Fantastic. What a great nomination. And following on from that, Peter, where would you go from Mary I?
Well, I'm back to politicians that once they leave prominent office, you wish you'd never hear any more from.
Right.
So I've got another one for you. That world-renowned global state leader, Liz Truss.
Yes, former Prime Minister for a very short time.
Really, and here she is now in a very undignified fashion, popping up here, there and everywhere, trying to get a few dollars for having a word here and a word there. And, really, Liz, I mean, if it's not bad enough that certain police officers have got to provide her with 24/7 protection for the rest of her life. I mean, imagine having that job.
Would they have to travel to America with her?
Oh, yeah.
So that would have cost us a pretty penny, wouldn't it?
Oh, she's got that protection for the rest of her days.
Now, I'm going to say something that, she needs to go. Because I see her as a hindrance to the cause.
Yeah.
I love a bit of right-wingery, and some of the stuff she espouses, I believe in. I think, fine. But, when it came to the climate activists and they held up that weird autistic child as the bastion of common sense, the oracle, Greta, the whole world went, listen to that child.
Yeah.
When we turned around and held up a sort of robotic, awkward and slightly balmy woman as the harbinger of good right-wing news, everyone's gone, no, you can't do that, she's nutso.
Right.
So we got to get rid of her just because she is a harm to the cause.
Yes, there is a bit of a double standard there, but nevertheless, I still go with Peter's view that maybe she should just sit down for a bit and not keep going on. It's a bit soon to be telling everyone she was right and everybody else was wrong.
She's never going to be able to tell people that she was right because she's her, isn't she?
Well, also, she wasn't right, it turns out. You know, and you can argue the toss
Some of
backwards
her
and forwards.
political theories and
You can.
philosophies are
You can.
pretty solid.
You can.
She just didn't know how to do it.
But
or
she didn't know
enact
how to do it. She
No.
wasn't very good at the job.
She
And that's
really
really,
wasn't.
in the end, what happened.
And I'm going to buy a mirror and have it delivered to her house because she clearly hasn't got one to look in.
No.
To have a look in there and go, do you know what, Liz? Yeah, just disappear quietly for a bit. Eh?
Yeah, just take a couple of months off.
Yeah.
Chill out.
On Loathe Island.
Maybe on Loathe Island, yeah. But
I bet
imagine who
her
she's
and
going to
Mary
meet
the
there.
First would
I mean,
get
so
along
far,
really well,
this is
really.
why Loathe Island, despite the way it looks, is such a horrendous place to be. You're going to walk into a bar. In there, it's going to be Tony Blair, Angela Merkel, Sadiq Khan, Mary the First, and Liz Truss.
Who's going to be the first couple to get it on?
Well, sounds like it might be Mary the First and Angela Merkel to me. In this world of, do whatever you like with whoever you like. Who's your final one?
Well, Ted Heath, he ain't getting any action, let's be fair.
He once wrote me a letter, Ted Heath.
Did he?
Yeah, because I wrote him a letter, I think, when I was about 13 or something, asking him some question or other. And he wrote back.
That's nice.
I thought it was quite nice. I think
quite
I've still got
thoughtful.
it somewhere, yeah.
Well, you're almost giving him a sort of visa of exemption from Loathe Island.
Well,
because I
almost, but
kind of
you may
like
have a
good
better reason to
old-fashioned-
send him there.
Well, he just made us join the EU, didn't he?
Yeah.
Fake Tory.
Yeah.
Said, let's go in there. Corporate cartel. Sounds good. That's
Yeah.
going to help us.
It wasn't entirely truthful about it either.
No, it really wasn't. And, if that hadn't happened all those years ago,
Yeah.
I don't think Britain was signed up to the lot of all this nonsense. Whether it's the sort of like every single global organisation on earth that now we follow the rules and no one else does, he started it.
But imagine
He's
it-
the one who said, oh, let's do that. That seems
Right.
like a wise plan.
Yeah, absolutely
no, Ted.
right. Also, the other thing he's famous for, of course, is putting it to the country that, he wanted to know whether he governed it or the unions did, and it turned out it wasn't him.
He was just useless, wasn't he? He actually makes Liz Truss look competent.
He was quite a good sailor, though, wasn't he? He
Was
used
he?
to take part in,
He's going to escape Loathe Island then, isn't
Well,
he?
that's the thing. If you make sure there are no boats anywhere near Loathe Island, because he'll be able to get on the sailboat and sail away.
He'll be absconding and claiming asylum here, and the likelihood is they'll grant it to him.
But imagine how popular he'd be with those people that post-COVID don't want to come into work. Because, of course, it was under Ted Heath we had the 3-day week.
That's true.
That'll work for a lot of people who don't fancy popping into the office.
You and I are about the same age. You probably had the same as me. I had an entire school term where I only went into school on a Wednesday. And the rest of the 5 days out of 5, I didn't do anything. I stayed at home.
What about this man suggests that he had good Anglo-Saxon?
Saxon?
That's a new shape
That's
in
a new one.
New shape in mathematics. Anglo-Saxon.
Yeah.
Ideals of hard work, industry, patriotism. He set fire to the lot of it,
He
didn't he?
He did. That's a great start, though. For the first edition of Loathe Island, Tony Blair, Angela Merkel, Sadiq Khan, Mary the First, Liz Truss, Ted Heath. Amazing. And it's also equally male and female, isn't it?
And if we do get them banished to that island, can we please put hidden cameras everywhere?
Yes.
And then, without their knowledge, have it as a reality show?
Yes.
That'd be
That
lovely.
would be a
That
hope.
would be a really good version of I'm a Celebrity, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Who's alive on this list? I mean, who are the ghosts coming back? Well, Mary the First, she's definitely ghosting around the place.
Yeah.
But my 3 are all alive.
Yeah. Well, listen, this is the first
For
of
now.
many. So we're gonna build up quite a population for Loathe Island by the end of the year. So this is the first 6. So it's very good. Thank you very much indeed, Alex Phillips, Peter Bleksley. We'll bring you more from Loathe Island same time next week.